Yay, I'm excited
Yay.
now. So welcome everyone to Transferring Artwork to Polymer Clay with Miss Mags. Mags has lots of great classes over at CraftCast, but we were talking and what happens is we forget, we haven't done, it's not that much time has gone since we did the class, but we forget that there's great information in there and we want to re-show it to people who are new to CraftCast, new to Polymer Clay, how much fun this is. So that's what this is about, so that you can learn a bit about how to do this. And so one of the things we always like to make sure you get is a coupon code to use over at CraftCast so that you can save on your purchases there. 20% off on everything using transfer 20. So you'll see when you're checking out, you just put the coupon code in. So that is so exciting. All right, I'm going to start by showing you this, which is how this all started. Look how cute this is. Here at CraftCast. That's me. Hello. So this is I guess a painting my son did when he was, I don't know, 8 or something. And I loved it and I framed it. But Mags took it. I gave her a JPEG of it, sent it to her, and she transferred it to Polymer K and we made a little buckle out of it. And that blew me away. How fun is that to do with kids' artwork? So I know that this is one of the secret ingredients you're going to tell us about first. Correct, Mags?
Yes,
Okay.
correct. Hello, everybody. Good morning. This class, and I'm going to tell a little story on Allison.
Uh-oh.
I was sitting on my computer about 2 weeks ago, and I get this message from her that says, "Hey, why don't we do a class on transferring images to polymer clay?" And I went, we did already a couple of years ago. And so she knew it was a great idea because we had done it before. So that's why we decided to bring it back because, hey,
Well,
what's old
things
is new again and things change
exactly,
and we
exactly.
learn new things. And
Right.
this is one of the examples of learning the new things. So when we did the class originally, Sculpey had not come out with the clear. Well, they had given away some of the clear. I knew it was out there. They're clear, transparent liquid clay, but it wasn't in the testing of the original class. So when you do the original class, you'll see what the different liquid clays do and how they react with the transfers and which ones to use for different reasons. But this one came out afterwards. So we decided we would add this in as a bonus. And we took a piece of the man-child's artwork from a kid, and we did it. Now, there's another thing that I've learned since we've done this part. So with the Sculpey liquid clear, you have to stir it every time you use it because it really settles very quickly and separates. So no matter if you used it yesterday, stir it again before you use it. And I've even had one where almost like the bottom third of it was just gunk. And I poured it out into a bowl and I stirred it back to its regular consistency. So just know that with this particular one, the clear one, not the TL, not the transparent one, that's the old one that if you've been doing clay for a while, you may know about. This is just the clear transparent version that you really need to stir each time. If you haven't used a liquid clay in a long time, you should stir it anyway. But this one you need to stir whether you've used it yesterday or not, to make sure that everything gets homogenized together, because this one is really, really clear if it's done right, if it's stirred up and everything. It's really clear.
So let me ask you a question. I bet
Sure.
people are thinking of this. What do you suggest for stirring? You don't want to shake it, I'm going to guess, because you
No, you
don't
don't
want.
want to shake it.
Okay.
I take like a big wooden chopstick,
Okay, a chopstick, that
and
kind
that's
of
enough. Yeah,
thickness.
that's
Okay.
enough to get it going, or even like a thin skewer if it's not too thick. A thin skewer is enough. But if it gets really, really bad, then you do need to pour it out into like a little bowl and then really work on it for a
Okay.
while. And then you
Okay.
can pour it back into the bottle.
Okay, so that's a good thing to know. A chopstick is a good
Yeah.
thickness. All right, so
Yeah.
now we're going to watch a little video here of how to use our Sculpey liquid makeable clay.
So this is my secret. and it's Avery. You want to do Avery. I've tried a few times with the Staples brand, and I still get pretty good results, but not consistently. The Avery is consistent. So what I've done here is I've printed out the JPEG onto the paper, the t-shirt transfer paper. You can use your inkjet. You do not need to use a laser printer.
Okay.
This works perfectly with an inkjet. And now what I'm doing is I'm just pouring on the liquid clay, and I'm getting a fairly good amount of it. You don't want it too thick, because then when you go to put it onto a piece of the clay, it might have a little ridge to it.
Okay.
But you don't want it so thin that you can't handle it. So
Okay.
I'm putting some out, and then I'm going to let it level, and then I'll put a little bit more on, and then you'll see me use the silicone brush on it.
All right, let me pause here a second because I bet people are thinking, how did you get to that point? I'm going to
Yeah.
say for that particular one, I took a picture with my phone of the
Mm-hmm.
artwork. I saved it
Mm-hmm.
as a high res.
Mm-hmm.
And we have lots of information on how to do that. And I sent it over, I just emailed it to Mags, and Mags made it, just reduced it in size and printed it out on her end,
Yeah,
correct? And
correct.
you printed it out on that Avery.
On the Avery t-shirt transfer paper through the
There you go.
inkjet, through the
And
inkjet.
and that information is also all in your handout so
Yeah,
that you can take a look at that.
and in the online class, we show you, because on the online class we used my coloring pages and how to reduce them down and how
Right.
much space to give yourself in terms of, how close do you want to cut the image out. Here we're just kind of doing it free form, but we have some tips and techniques in the
Right.
regular class of how to size it for earrings versus pendants versus whatever.
We want to get you guys excited to see the
Yeah.
possibilities here. So, okay, so I'm going to move forward. So here we go. We're putting on more.
Mm-hmm.
It's like cake decorating.
Yeah. And you can see kind of now that I've moved my arm how some of that is starting to level out on the dog picture
Yep.
already. Um, all of the um, all of the liquid clays will self-level to a certain degree. Kato is the best about self-leveling, but it levels itself out to a very thin layer, and that's not necessarily easy to work with for the particular techniques that we're using here. And some are a little thicker, and there are ways to deal with that as well. My go-to is Fimo liquid gel, I think is what they call it, because it's kind of, it's like the three little bears. It's right in the middle there. It
Hmm.
gives me a
Hmm.
nice
Hmm.
sturdy one. It's pretty clear, and it's pretty durable. So what you're seeing me do here is I'm going to take that liquid clay, and I'm going to move it all the way past. You want to make sure you go past the image that you want, so that you have some room to play with when you separate it from the paper, because you want to make sure you get the full piece. So you're going to be pulling that clay all the way past the edge. The turtle pictures, I probably cut those maybe a little bit too close in a couple of places. But if you go off onto the tile, that's fine. And that's blue painter's tape, just to tape it down in a few little places. If you're using convection, you don't want this flopping around. So it's just going to hold it where it is.
Okay, that's good.
I think that's.
Do we have any questions at this point that anyone wants to ask? Everyone is good at this point?
Yeah.
Oh,
So then
all
you're
right.
going to bake it based on the recommendations on the bottle. And then when it comes out, then we can separate it from the paper backing, which I think we'll probably show next.
Um, how hard is it to get that particular paper?
Oh, Staples has it all the time.
Okay, good.
I'm
Good,
sure
good,
the
good.
other office stores have it as well. And like I said, I have tried the Staples brand. It's pretty good. Most of the time I have had a few little small little failures with it a couple of times. That could be operator error. I could have maybe just not burnished it correctly.
Okay.
There's all that kind of stuff. So now I've taken the piece and I've separated it from the paper. So all of that ink has now transferred to the gel medium, and it's become what I call a decal. So I put a little bit more liquid clay on the back of it just to help with the adhesion. And now I'm going to smooth it down onto the that's raw clay. And it is clear, so the color that you put behind it is going to show through. I chose the ecru because it was kind of a muted color palette, and I felt that would balance it the best. If you're using bright colors, you're going to want to use white. In the class, we actually show you some examples of where I've burnished it onto silver clay or glitter clay or any other kind of color of clay. And there's also some techniques that I show you if you want to use an opaque liquid clay behind it.
All right, let's take some questions because everyone just wants to make sure what's going on here. And Tony wanted to know, should it be dry before baking? I guess you mean everything here. I'm not sure which part you mean. Let me back up in some questions. Okay. Renee wants to know the name of that paper again. I know it's in the handout, and we'll put the handout again in there.
It's Avery brand t-shirt transfer paper. You want the light fabric.
There you go. Burdell said, you don't have a printer. Okay, well, you can always get things printed out. I've gone myself over to Staples and just bring your own paper. So that's a way to do it. You know, just gang up a bunch of things that you want to have printed. And they'll do it for you at that kind of a store. Your liquid clay is thick, so that's probably what Mags was talking about, that you need to really stir it and get it
if it's the Sculpey clear, you definitely want to stir it. It shouldn't be so thick that you can't pour it out of the bottle.
There you go. Now let's just review. So we had our printout on the Avery paper. You covered it with the Sculpey liquid, and you thinned it out. You made sure it was nicely covered, and you let that dry, or did you? You bake it.
No, you bake it as soon as you're happy with the smoothness and the coverage of the liquid over the print. You go ahead and bake it. Then there's no drying to it. It goes into the oven just like regular clay does.
And I'm sure they have on the container what temperature to use and for how long and all of that. So follow the instructions on that.
You might want to bake it a little bit longer than what they suggest.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, that's my normal anyway, because it doesn't hurt for it to go a little longer. It just hurts if the temperature is too high.
Got it. Okay, good to know. Good to know.
Always make sure you have an oven thermometer and you check the temperature using an external oven thermometer, not the oven's temperature, but because it's almost never this exact same.
Yeah, double check. We've learned that in many of our classes to double check with thermometers in your oven. So Betsy, I think that answers your question about, did you have to let it sit on the picture for any length of time before baking?
No. You do when we talk about a dry transfer, which I think we get to a little later. At least we have an example of it. We'll talk about it then. But for this version, no, you do not have to wait. You just want to make sure it's nice and smooth and level. Like you might have noticed at the end there was a little bit of a brush stroke left in a couple of them. Just let that sit for a little bit and it'll level itself out. You just want it nice and smooth as possible.
Yep. So you have to bake it on the paper then,
obviously. You have to bake it on the paper.
Right. Okay, good. Okay. All right. We've gotten that far. Look how cute it looks. Now you've rolled out your clay.
So now I rolled out the clay.
I put a little through a little bit.
You got to remember that the color is going to show through. And I'm going to make, I did a little bracelet, I think is what we're cutting out now. And I'm using those handy dandy leather cutters that everybody loves to cut my holes. And I burnished it down. I rolled it in with the brayer and I've smoothed it with deli paper on top, because you don't want to feel a difference between the surface of you don't want that surface of the transfer sitting up over the clay. You want it the same level as the clay.
Okay.
And then we're going to cut out a shape. So yeah, I did a couple of different pieces, I think, for this image. And here I'm just bending the blade slightly to give it a little bit of a curve.
Oh yeah.
If you wanted a particular shape, you could use cutters. You could, size it. If there's a particular cutter you want to use, when you put it onto whatever software you're going to use to print out the images from, you could set that up in the software so that you have a template, and then you can fit your image right in there so that it's exactly the size of the cutter you're going to use. Here I'm just kind of pushing in the edges a little bit so that they're nice and rounded and not sharp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, bendable blades are great
Yeah,
for that.
yeah, they're super. And your fingers are great at it too. So you don't need a lot of tools with polymer clay, but we do have them. And then I'm going to peel it off of that, and then I'm going to put it over a slightly domed item to give it just a little bit of shape.
Say, how thick would you say that clay is right there, the
That
background?
clay is probably about 1.5 millimeters, I would say.
Yeah, because it came out great. I mean, it was
Yeah.
substantial and looks really good. So there you go, guys. I mean, you'll see, um, as you saw in the beginning, that was like a 8 by 10 drawing or something,
Yeah.
painting
Yeah.
that he did that I thought was great. So, and look how great that just transferred onto there. I think that's magic, is what
The
I think.
colors are so great. I mean, they really it using the transfer paper, it just sucks up that dye from the inkjet and releases almost all of it. Every once in a while, you'll see a little bit of color left on the paper when you peel it off, but for the most part, it just takes all of the color. I
So
mean, look
cute.
at that
It's
image.
such a great way to do kids' artwork.
Yeah.
I mean,
And again, this could be a photograph. This could be the
right.
whole reason we did the class in the beginning was I was coloring every night, and I had like 3 3-inch binders of coloring pages, and I had to figure out what to do with them. And so we started turning it into jewelry, and that's how the class became the
T-
class.
Too fun, right? Too fun.
Yeah. And
Anyone
in
who's,
the class, let me
yeah.
remind them that in the class, you actually get like 2 pages of images already sized up and everything, so that you don't have to, if you want to practice on that, you have those images are already to go. So you don't even have to think about it when you do it the first time. You can just go ahead and print those out onto the t-shirt transfer paper.
I mean, the possibilities are so fun. You could even do like little journal covers. You could do a little photo album cover.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
Robin
Mm-hmm.
Beth wants to know, does this work with magazine images? I
I
can't.
would think, I'm trying to remember if I ever did do a, oh, I think I did do a magazine image at one point. And I think, yes, if it is more like a fashion magazine where the paper is a little bit thicker. I don't know that it would from a cheap magazine, but if it's like a Vogue or Elle or Martha Stewart or something like that, where the paper's a little bit thicker, I think it would work for sure.
Robin, I would do a test with it because here's what I've
Yes.
learned recently. The older magazines that were done like photogravure or different inks work
Hmm.
because I've been working with someone and we've been playing with transfers of old National Geographics. And it's like the woman said, no, you got to use the ones between the 70s and the 80s. So
Ah, yeah.
magazines have changed all their printing and their inks. So try a
Yes.
little sample first to
That's
see
a great
about
idea.
about
Great idea.
magazines because they've really changed what's
Yeah.
going on. What about laser printed images?
So here's the thing about laser printing. Laser uses heat, and a t-shirt transfer works with heat. So I don't know. I haven't tried it. I think it would be a bit of a fail because I don't know if the paper will already start doing something because it's heat being applied to it. So I'm not sure about that. Another thing you would want to give it a test. But the transfer paper for the t-shirts is an inkjet version. So maybe check and see if there's a laser version. I don't think there is.
Uh,
I should have looked that up this morning. Sorry, I didn't do that.
Here's the thing. This is why we're doing this again. Transferring images have become really popular. And
Yeah.
since they came out with different materials a few years ago, things have changed and magazine inks have changed and laser print.
Yeah.
So the thing is, try a little bit because you
Yeah.
don't know what's
Yeah.
going to work and what isn't. So do a little sample to try.
And who knows, you may get something out of it that makes it a cool technique.
Right.
It might not come out looking like this, but it might do something totally different that would be awesome.
Right. That's taking it a whole nother. But if you want
Yeah.
to play with something like this, like this is from the class, and you want to make sure this works, follow what Max says, get that paper, follow this. Because I always think follow the class first
And
and
then
then
go
start
off.
playing on
Yeah.
your own
Yeah.
because you'll learn a lot just doing the class. And then you'll can take those techniques and try other things.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be frustrated. Make the
No.
first thing in class, make it work,
Yeah.
love it, and then start playing. How do I know that? By experience.
Yeah,
How do I know?
when I started doing transfers, and this was like probably 20 years ago now that I started doing transfers. I live out in the sticks. I would have to go 30 minutes to get to a Staples just to print something out. So all I had was an inkjet here. So that's kind of how I found out that this transfer paper worked, because a lot of people were doing laser transfers back then onto clay, and they were using alcohol and
Yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
transfer it and all that kind of stuff. There was laser tran that was like a water slide decal that people were
Yep,
using.
yep.
A lot of my ideas came at like midnight, and it's not like I could just, run out and test something. So that's how I got into using the t-shirt transfer material to begin with. And it's just always worked for me.
Yeah.
So I did do a lot of testing for the class, and you'll see in the class, you'll see how the testing came out. And but it's still, I thought the best was still this version. So
Yeah, and you might decide differently.
yeah,
All of
you
that is
might.
explained totally in the class. We just want to make sure that everyone in this kind of a webinar gets what works
Right.
so that you're not frustrated.
Yeah.
Because this works brilliantly. So
Yeah.
then you can start playing with everything. Robin wants to know, would this work on a comic book? Again, that's the thing about the ink
Yeah.
and how they've changed printing these days. It could not work on a comic book you bought that's new today, but it might work on one that was from the
Yeah.
70s or
Yeah.
80s. That's the thing about testing
Yeah.
with that. And I just went through tons of testing. I did you have lots of those. Okay, perfect, Robin. I did the Vanity Fair, but the new one and the new Vogue did not work. It would be older ones were better because they've
Yeah.
changed the printing. So try what Mags is suggesting, get the class, watch everything, and then start experimenting with different things. But just keep that in your brain that what we've discovered is the inks are different now
Yeah.
in
They
a lot of
definitely
the,
are.
yeah. So they're not transferring as well as they used to do. So don't give up that way.
Yeah, and the
Um,
photo papers are really different too, because for a long time there was this Canon photo paper that worked brilliantly. You didn't really have to do anything with it. And then they discontinued that brand of that style of paper, and that's when everybody went crazy. Oh no, what
yeah,
are we going to
yeah,
do to replace it? And that's
yeah.
how all of this kind of came to be.
Which Abby, this exactly right. Abby suggesting, you could take a picture of the thing you want in your comic book and run it
Yes.
through the transfer paper that Mags
Yep.
is talking about. I know there's
Absolutely.
always a way, and it's very easy to take pictures of
Yeah.
any of these things
Yeah.
or scan it. Yep. Or
Right.
scan it into your
Scan it.
computer or use your iPhone to scan in. There's all those different ways now. So I would go with that route. You're going to be,
I think you'll be
99. Yes.
happier with
Yes.
the
With your
results.
result. So let's say that. All right, explain to everyone what was this method you used right here we're looking at, Mags.
So this was basically the same thing. This was a friend of mine, Shannon. She gave me some artwork that she had done so that we could try a little bit different and see how that went. And it was the exact same thing. You saw me putting the liquid clay on this at the beginning with Eric's piece.
Right.
So it's basically just showing you a little something different. This was something that she had drawn. And so we created that. And then I think I'm looking at those edges there, and I think I went back and I put some um that color clay on the edge
Okay.
because it was probably on white. Oh yes, I think that what I did was I baked it. I baked it on a round bowl, so I had a little bit of that curvature, but I think it was baked on white because the background was that color was there as well. And then after I baked it, I matched the color to a solid color of clay, and I took it from the back and wrapped it around the front and then trimmed off the edge so that you got that same orangish color all the way around.
Okay.
Because again, if I had baked that on orange clay,
It
the
would have come
blue
through
would not have been, yeah,
as
the blue
blue.
would not have been as blue.
So another way to think that through as
Mm-hmm.
well, remembering that your colors come through. Can you just tell us once again, Mags? Peg wanted to know, how did you remove the image from the paper?
Oh, okay. So when it once it gets out, it's better if you can do it while it's still a little warm. But you don't want it to be too warm because then the clay transfer has more it's a little bit more delicate at that stage. And we actually go into it, you get to see exactly what I do in the
Right, in the
class,
class. Yeah, you'll get all the
But
details. Yeah.
basically what I do is I leave that space around the edge so that I can go back in with a pair of scissors and cut in between the image and the edge of the paper. And then you can slide a knife or a pen tool in there and start to separate the decal from the paper. And usually it will pull off fairly cleanly. You might have to run the knife around the edges just to get the edges loosened up. And when you do that, you want to make sure that the sharp part of the knife is angled down towards the paper and not up towards the decal. Don't ask me why I know not to do that. Because basically you'll scratch the decal is what will happen. You'll scratch the color off. So you want to make sure that whatever sharpness you're using, whether it's a tissue blade or a knife, that sharp is down on onto the paper. And then once you get that edge separated, it'll just peel right off.
Okay. And
And
that's
then you can trim it up after that.
get the full class and
Yeah.
use the coupon. It goes
Yeah.
into everything, and you can rewind and watch everything in close detail. So we'll plop in there again one more time the handout, at least for today. So you'll see the class link, everything. We'll get that for you. No worries. There was another good question in here. Oh, Abby wanted to know, can you slightly dome the clay after the image is applied, but before it's baked?
Yes, you can, but only slightly. Because what's going to happen is when you dome something, the middle is going to stretch and you're going to be
Oh,
pulling
yeah.
down the edge, and you might get some ripples in there that you can smooth out by hand before you bake it. And what you don't want to do is try and concave it because that won't work. And basically what we go into the other version of the transfer, not using the liquid clay, you can transfer straight onto the clay, onto raw clay. And that's what I use if I'm going to do like a ring bowl or something that's going to curve convex wise, because you can't really use the decal on that because it won't stretch the way you want it to. And so we also go into the direct, because you can use the same exact paper without any liquid clay and go direct to the clay with the transfer. You have to let that sit for a while. You have to burnish it really good. I think we found in the testing you had to you want it to at least sit on the clay for about an hour before you pull it off. And then that you can bake into like a bowl shape. But after it's been baked, you do need to put some sort of a finish over it so that you don't scratch the color off of the clay, because that in that case the print the ink is sitting up and is not covered like this is. And it can just be like a thin coat of varnish or something like that. It doesn't have to be very much.
Yeah,
We may have a piece on here that's done that way.
I left this up here for a bit because I think this shows it off so great, because that was a big piece of artwork. Take a picture with a phone and look what Mags was able to do with that paper. So I just wanted to say it is possible there. We do have some other pieces that were done with it. Oh, that's good. Robin wanted to know, what did you use as a finish?
I have a couple of go-to finishes. My most favorite is the gloss Varathane that's sold at the Home Depot by Rust-Oleum. Let me make sure I have the right name. Yes, it's called Varathane Ultimate Polyurethane, water-based, and you can get them in little cans like this. You don't have to get the big, huge can. And then my other is the golden polymer varnish. This is a satin, but I use the gloss most of the time because I like things shiny.
Fine. All right, now tell everyone how you did these adorable friggin'
so
handbags.
this was for an exhibit at one of the Synergies, and my theme was the connection that women have with their purses. And so I went, and it's a necklace that's of all different kinds of coveted handbags, and you can look at the Prada one and you can just see the edge of the Gucci one. So basically what I did is I just printed out something
Gucci
from the the internet and printed it onto that paper and created the transfer for it, and then built it, set it into the clay, and then built up the edges around it to make it look like the purse. That was a lot of fun.
I feel people getting inspired after seeing that. The brain just went, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff. It's just, I mean, you can't. I was telling Alison and some of the people earlier, I took 2 mobile classes last year with polymer clay. And one of the next projects I want to do just for myself is to do a mobile that is transfers of, like, doing a family tree, but using the transfers on, it could be clear or it could be backed, and then have all the mobiles being pictures of our ancestors.
Yeah, that's going to be so fun.
Yeah,
the purses are so freaking
that was fun. That was just that whole project was just killer. This was a friend of mine sent artwork of the dog that that one of their favorite dogs, so I turned that into a necklace. Now this one I believe was direct to clay on this one.
Okay. You get the class, everyone. It'll explain. It's 2 hours of stuff. We can't go through everything in here. We'd be here for the whole day. So, but I love that. And yes, Robin Beth just wrote great Christmas ornaments, the handbags, but look how cute for a Christmas present, an ornament. I mean, they're all just so adorable.
Yeah, you could make, now here's a bowl. So if we can hold on this for a second. So you'll notice that it has more of a matte type of a finish. And it's a little, if I had stuck the original artwork next to that, it doesn't transfer as much color as the transfer does, but it allows you to make a concave piece. Or any other kind of piece where you're going to be manipulating the shape of the clay before you bake it. And it comes out a little, I don't even know what you would call it. It may be almost like of a frosted appearance, because it doesn't transfer quite as well as the gel does. But that's a lot of fun too.
I like the look though.
Yeah, it's really nice. So to me, that kind of looks like a piece of pottery almost.
Yeah, that's when it's worth playing around. Once you get down the technique, start playing around, experimenting. And that's what I'm wearing.
That's the necklace. That's the necklace you learn how to use because it's reversible. So I actually teach you how to put that together into a necklace and a pendant and all that good stuff.
And then you send them to me when you're done, right?
And I send them to you when I'm done.
Yeah, that's perfect. No, it's lovely. The colors are beautiful and it has an edge. Mag shows you how to finish it all off. It's lovely, lovely.
Yeah, it's nice.
Uh, and then here are some little earrings.
That's decal. Oh, if you're going to be doing the direct to clay method of transfer, you need to make sure you flip the image.
Oh yeah, that good point. Good point.
Right. If you're using the gel, it doesn't matter because you're going on top of it and that's what you see is what you get. But if you're
Right,
going to do direct to clay, you got to flip the image.
right, right, right. Always got to remember that.
Yeah.
Uh, Robin wants to know if you put the polish on it, would it be shiny?
If it is a shiny polish, yes, it will. There are matte versions or
Oh, the
satin
bowl.
versions.
She meant the bowl.
Oh,
Would
the
it get
bowl?
shinier after that?
Yes, it would.
Okay.
If you use a shiny, if you use a matte, it won't.
It won't, it'll stay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, you guys have good questions.
you
We love
really
it.
do. God, you
I know
ask
they're good.
great cross,
Yeah.
great
All right. So
questions.
there's the class. The link is in the chat box. Misty will put it up again for you. It is $39.95, but you have a 20% off coupon. Go get it. You'll have so much frigging fun. I'm just telling you. I know I
And
sound like
don't
the
forget,
sure, but
you get the whole shrink plastic thing that we didn't
oh
even
right.
touch here.
Yeah.
How to make it look like it's not shrink plastic,
Yeah.
how
Uh,
to measure it, all that kind of good stuff.
Let me show you the coupon so you have it all. It's transfer 20, but there you go right there. Uh, and any other questions you think of, just send them to us at support@craftcast.com.
Mm-hmm.
Robin, oh, you couldn't hear the beginning. Okay, no, it's not. It's a special paper. It's in the handout, the name of that paper, but is a t-shirt transfer material made by, who's it made by?
Avery.
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 You know, Avery's in all the Staples and all the office supply stores. And that's what Mags has used, and that's how she's gotten these results. So make sure you give that a try first, and then start experimenting, and you'll find something that works. But we like to show everyone what works first, and then you can go start experimenting because we don't like to be frustrated forever. We'd like to get it to
No.
work, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're very good at figuring it all out for us. So everyone, if you make something with all of this, please put it. We have a Facebook group now called Chat with Craftcast. And we'll put the handout in again. Marilyn, you can grab the handout right now from the chat box. You'll also get a email, follow-up email from us that'll give you information where to find the recording. It'll be over on the YouTube channel and all of that information so you can rewatch. And I love it. I hope you all learned and got inspired and had some fun today. And I always look forward to seeing everyone again. Oh, look at that. Who put that in there?
What?
Renena. I don't know how to say your name correctly. Excuse me. She put in there where to get the Avery paper at
Oh,
Amazon.
super, super.
Thank you,
Thank
honey.
you. Yeah.
Yep, we love that. And you're inspired. Yay!
Yay! Oh, I can't wait
Oh,
to
I
see
did
what you
well.
guys
Thank you,
do
Renata.
with it.
Yeah, us too. So thank
Please
you everyone
post.
for coming. And we have lots of other freebies coming up. Make sure you're on our uh, if you go to the Craftcast site, just sign up for our emails. I mean, if you hate it and you want to get unsubscribed, that's also very easy. But we have all kinds of other freebies coming up explaining things in the works that you're going to love. I'm just
Yeah.
telling you, right? That's what I was hoping. Zelly just had many ideas for Christmas gifts. That's what I was hoping for
Yes,
everyone.
what a perfect time we did for this, didn't we, Allison?
We're
We'd
trying to
like to
think.
think that we remembered that when we scheduled this, but we
Yeah,
didn't.
yeah. Mary just said the coupon code's not working. Did you do all caps and transfer 20? I'll make sure, no worries, that it is working. Um, because, you know, it's the tech world that we deal with all the time to make sure that it's things are working.
This
So
is true.
Mary, everyone give it just a few minutes. I'll go on and clear the cache and make sure it's all working for transfer 20, no worries. And we'll get it to work. And we look forward to see everyone soon. And so
Thanks
maybe
for showing
back
up,
on.
everybody. It was
Yeah.
great.
Have a great day. Thank you, Miss Mags.
Bye.
Bye, honey.